This is a Toyota Camry.
When he pulls into the driveway and slow it down, you can hear those brakes really crunching metal on metal, because you can't hear it through the camera, but I can hear it standing right here. Seems like a very severe case, but what we're going to do is take the brakes off. We'll look at the pads and just see how bad it really is.
The brakes on this 97 Toyota Camry. So we have to find out where we're going to put the jack. Right under here. That's part of the frame. Okay, then we can jack this up. But I'm going to jack it up just so far because we're going to break the lugs loose before we lift the wheels off the ground. I use a crossbar just because it's easier. Okay, so I'll loosen them all up. Okay, now we'll lift the car off the ground. The next thing is to put one of these jack stands under here. And we can put it right here. Okay, now we'll lower the car just a little bit. Okay, now that makes it safe enough to take off the tire. Okay, now we'll take a look at the rotor here. Oh yes, on the back side it's all scored up. Okay, since this rotor is bad, I want to take a look at the other side and see if it's the same thing. So we'll jack the car back up. Put one of these jack stands on the frame. There we go, and then we'll just take off this other tire. Okay, if you look at this rotor, it's not scored, but it's sort of wore. It's got heat marks on here. And you can also see, if you look in here, this is where the brake pads are. Looks like there's no brakes left at all on this car. So let's take off the calipers, we'll take off the rotors and see if we can get them cut. Okay, I turned the wheel out this way to make it easy to get access so we can take the calipers off. We'll have to take these two bolts off here. Here's the brake line, here's the bleeder, and then from there we can take the rotor off. So let me get some tools. Okay, this is a number 14. Let's see, so to take this off we have to go counterclockwise. And then we'll do the bottom one too. Okay, they're both broke loose. just have to pull this out. There we go. Alright, and we'll just let this hang here. Get something tied up. And here's the brakes. The pads just come out like that. And you can see that the pads are gone. I mean, these are really wore out. And you can see right here that the brakes, there is no brakes. Okay, now what we have to do is take this bracket off. And there's two bolts, one here and one down here. All right, just got some string here. I'm going to tie this brake off so that it doesn't sit on the hose. Take the pressure off of it. So any place is good. I'm just going to tie it off to the coil spring. Okay, there it is. That way it just hangs there. Alright, now we have these two bolts to take this bracket off. This happens to be a number 17. So remember, we have to go counterclockwise to take this off. Here's one. And there's the other one. Okay, there's one. Okay. We broke that loose, so now I'll just cut it off. Alright, there's your bracket. So on the bracket it has these other small brackets that you can take off. But this is where the, look right there. One on one. This is where the brake pads would sit. Right in here like this. And then this caliper comes over here and squeezes these two brakes together, and that's what stops the car. Okay, now with the bracket off, the rotor comes off pretty easy, and you can see that this thing is heavily scored, because that matches right here where the brake was going around. So that is pretty bad. That's why it was making so much noise when you stopped and pressed on when you pressed on the brake pedal. This would grind here. Okay, what we have to do, we got to turn the wheel. So it goes all the way over to the other side. By turning it this way, we have full access to the calipers, and we can take those off. Okay, on this side, let's try something different. Let's use a socket instead of an open wrench. Maybe it'd be a little easier. I guess so. So, as you can see, here's the two bolts. One here, and one up here. And what we do is just pull this out. And this just comes straight out, just like that. Okay, and then when you look at the brake pads right here, you can see that this one too has hardly anything left. So we'll take that one out and see how this comes out through this bracket. That's exactly how we'll be putting this back in. Alright, now let me tie off caliper so it doesn't dangle there. And we'll just tie it against the coil spring. It doesn't make any difference, just as long as it's tied against something. Okay, and it'll just sit right here. So now what we have is the two. We gotta take this bracket off so we get this rotor up. So this one is a 17. Counterclockwise, takes it off. Now we'll do the upper one. This guy out of the way a little bit. Here comes the bracket. Now with the rotor off, with the bracket off, wiggle this right off. And we'll look at this side. This side is not as bad as the other side, but you can see it's wore. You can feel it. I can feel it. You can probably just see it right here. So this needs to be cut. And if they can't cut it, then we'll have to buy new rotors. So let's go to the auto store, see what we can do. Okay, we went to the auto parts store, got ourselves some new rotors. Because they wouldn't cut the old ones because the damage was so bad. See how rough that is? Okay, here's the new ones. Okay, they look okay. So, alright, let's put these on. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is just take a little gasoline and just wipe them, just in case they have grease or oil from the manufacturing process. Okay, that'll take care of that one. Okay, now let's just put it on. It's going to go right over the top here. Just have to line up the holes. And look at that, how easy that is. Okay, now we're going to put the bracket on. Okay, here's where the bolt is up. Start one. Go up to the upper one. Start that. Okay, now we just got to tighten them up. Okay, clockwise tightens them. They're not going anywhere. Okay, the next thing is with the caliper. See what happens is when as the brakes wear out, this keeps on coming out farther and farther, so we have to squeeze that back. Okay, before we squeeze that, let's take a look at the master cylinder. Here it is. We'll just take the cover off. They sit there, but you can see the level is down a little bit. Now when we squeeze those, you'll see that level come back up. Okay, I don't use anything fancy. All I have to do is just gently squeeze and go slow, because it's not going to go any faster. And you'll see as we squeeze, it goes, just go all the way in. And what is happening is the brake fluid is going through the line back up into the master cylinder. Now, of course, all the shops have a special tool for this, but since I don't do brakes every day, I don't buy that special tool. Okay, now you'll see the piston is flush, so that's as far as it's going to go, or as far as we need it to go. Alright, now we'll get the brakes and put those on. We went out and got new brakes, well, new brake pads. Made 2 of these. And here we will show the difference. Here's the old ones, here's the new ones. You see they have that slot in here. Basically, when there's no more groove here, that's when you're supposed to change them. Not like this, but if you let them get like this, then you have to buy new rotors, because you scratch the rotor and destroy it. So anyway, let's put these brake pads on. We have some disc brake lubricant. Put that on all over. And don't get that on these surfaces, because then it won't stop. So we just basically stick it right in here. There's one side. And we just look over here again. We just follow the put it in the bottom groove, put it in the top groove. Okay, so what happens is, as the rotor turns, these just squeeze together and stop the car. Let me show you how different it is. Here's the new ones, and here's the old ones. Now you know why it destroyed the rotors. Okay, the next thing is to get the caliper. I'll just cut the string here. Get that out of the way. And this just comes right over the top. Fits right over there. And then okay, that's one side for the upper one. Now let's just do the lower one. Tighten it up. That's clockwise. There we are. Now, I'll just wipe the rotor here again where I touched it. Clean all that off. and that way we have access to this. Okay, let me get the other rotor. So I'm just gonna wipe it down again. Just in case it has grease from the factory. Now we'll just place that on. And now we'll put the bracket back on. Move this guy out of the way. You'll see the threads are here, so we have to put it on the back side of the bracket. Okay, there's one. There's a second one. Okay, so now we'll tighten these up. Okay, that's the bracket. Now, let's put the brakes on. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to put this brake lubricant right here on the pads. Okay, that's one. There's the second one. Okay. So, they go right in here in these tabs. Right here and here. Okay, so, here's the curvature of the rotor. So we just stick one here. Stick one there. Goes in just like that. Same thing with this side. Goes in that little tab there. Slides in this one up here. And there we go. Those are in. Now let's get the caliper and squeeze that. But in the meantime, let's come up here and take a look. You'll see our level came up a little bit, so we'll see how full this gets. Okay, so we'll just cut our little support. And here is the cylinder inside the caliper. And we're going to just gently squeeze. And you'll see as we squeeze, it goes in. But it doesn't go fast because all the fluid in here has to come through that brake line and go back up into the master cylinder. So just take your time. So that's as far as it's going to go. See, it's flush here. So now, with our brake pads installed, new rotor. This just slides right over the top, nice and easily, and bolts. Top one just bolts right in here. Okay, now we'll do the bottom one. Okay, now we'll just tighten these up. So remember, we tighten it clockwise. There's one. So what I'm going to do is press on the brake. You can see how they squeeze together. Got the calipers on, the brakes are in. Let me straighten the wheel out a little bit. Then we'll put the tire on. Well, before we do that, I put a little drop of oil on these. That'll make the lugs go on easier. Okay, so we have the lugs on there. Now what we'll do is the other side, and then we'll lower the car and retighten the lugs. Okay, here we are on the other side. We'll do the same thing. Okay, so what we'll do is take the jack stands down and get it back on the ground. There's one. There's two. Okay, then we'll come back over it, tighten it up. Always go crossways. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the beauty of doing them by hand is that you can get them off if you ever get a flat on the road, versus when they put them on in the shop they use a gun and it really puts it on. Now here's the stem. Here's a little indentation. Okay, that's one. Okay, there's the stem. Here's our little indentation. Okay, now we'll check the brake fluid level. That'll be right here. So we see it's full. So we can put that on there. And it looks like we're done. So basically, the worst part of this whole job was this rotor and this bad pad, because there's nothing left on it in the lining. So as that was going around, that got this all scratched up. We tried to take it to this auto parts store, but they wouldn't cut it because it was too badly damaged, so we had to buy new rotors. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so that finishes the whole job for this 1997 Toyota Camry. So that wasn't so hard.